He promoted his wife over me, told me I was too young for the director of trauma position. I was 29. I'd redesigned the entire Level 1 trauma protocol using AI-driven triage. My system saved an average of 14 minutes per critical patient. 14 minutes that meant the difference between life and death. But his wife needed more excitement after years of doing Botox injections, so she got the job. And when the cameras were rolling, when 40 injured children arrived after a school bus accident, she froze. And I watched it all happen from the break room. Because sometimes the best thing you can do is let incompetence reveal itself. But before I tell you about that moment when she stood paralyzed on live television while a child coded behind her about the $25 million in lawsuits and lost donations, about the contract I'd already prepared on my iPad, let me take you back to the beginning. To the day I learned that nepotism always costs more than it's worth. My name is Dr. Caleb Reed. I'm 29 years old, and until 3 weeks ago, I was the lead trauma physician at Metropolitan General Hospital in Chicago. Now I'm the director of the entire trauma center. But I earned that title watching someone else fail spectacularly at the job I should have had from the start. I've been in emergency medicine for 7 years. Finished medical school at 22. Residency at 25. Fellowship in trauma surgery at 27. By 28, I was running the night shift trauma team at one of the busiest ERs in the country. I'm good at what I do. Not arrogant, just factual. My patient outcomes are 15% better than the department average. My triage accuracy is 98%. I published 3 papers on AI-assisted emergency protocols. I built a machine learning system that analyzes patient vitals, injury patterns, and resource availability in real time. It cut our average door-to-intervention time from 43 minutes to 29 minutes. 14 minutes. That's how much faster patients got life-saving treatment because of my system. 14 minutes is the difference between brain damage and full recovery, between amputation and limb salvage, between life and death. The hospital saved an estimated 37 lives in the first year of implementation alone. So when Dr. Richard Morrison, the previous trauma center director, retired last month, I was the obvious choice for his replacement. Everyone knew it. The nurses knew it. The residents knew it. The other attendings knew it. Everyone except Dr. Gregory Hayes. Gregory Hayes was chief of emergency medicine. My direct supervisor. 56 years old. 20 years in administration. He was good at politics. Terrible at medicine. He'd spent his career climbing by making the right friends, attending the right dinners, never making waves. He was the kind of doctor who looked good in meetings, but would be useless in an actual emergency. And his wife, Dr. Paige Hayes, was worse. Paige was a dermatologist, 42 years old, spent the last 15 years doing cosmetic procedures, Botox, fillers, laser treatments. She was making a fortune doing vanity medicine for wealthy women in Chicago. But apparently, she was bored. 3 months ago, she decided she wanted more excitement and asked Gregory to help her transition into emergency medicine administration. Never mind that she hadn't worked in an ER since medical school 20 years ago. Never mind that she'd never managed a trauma team. Never mind that she couldn't intubate a patient under pressure if her life depended on it. She wanted excitement. Gregory wanted to make his wife happy, and I was about to pay the price. 2 weeks after Dr. Morrison's retirement, Gregory called me into his office. "Caleb, sit down. We need to talk about the director position." I sat. I'd prepared a presentation on my plans for the department. Expanded AI integration. New training protocols. Budget projections. "I've given this a lot of thought," Gregory began. "You're incredibly talented. Your trauma protocols are impressive. The AI system is revolutionary. Thank you." But there it was. "You're young. 29. That's very young for a director position." Dr. Morrison was 31 when he became director. Different era, different expectations. The board wants someone with more administrative maturity, someone who understands the political landscape, someone who can handle donor relations and media appearances. My stomach tightened. "Who did you choose?" "Paige. Dr. Paige Hayes. My wife." I stared at him. "Your wife. The dermatologist." She has extensive medical experience in cosmetic procedures. Not trauma, not emergency medicine, not critical care. She's eager to learn. And she has vision, administrative vision. That's what this position needs. Gregory, with all respect, the trauma center director needs trauma experience. We handle gunshot wounds, car accidents, mass casualties. This isn't about vision. It's about keeping people alive. And you'll help her do that. As her assistant director, you'll handle the clinical side. She'll handle administration. It's a perfect partnership. I wanted to scream, to flip his desk, to walk out and never come back. Instead, I said, "When does she start?" "Monday." And Caleb, he leaned forward. "The hospital is doing a media piece on her appointment. Female leadership in trauma medicine. Breaking barriers. That kind of thing. Channel 5 News will be here filming her first day. I need you to make sure she looks good. Stay in the background. Let her shine." I left his office, walked to my car, sat in the driver's seat for 20 minutes. Then I went home and started preparing. Not for helping Paige, for the inevitable disaster that was coming. I pulled up the hospital's insurance policies, reviewed the board structure, researched the hospital's financial vulnerability, drafted a contract on my iPad with terms I'd demand when everything fell apart. Because it was going to fall apart. I knew it. Anyone with half a brain knew it. You don't put someone with zero emergency experience in charge of a level 1 trauma center and expect it to go well. Especially not on camera. Monday morning, Paige's first day. The ER was decorated like it was a corporate launch event. Banners, balloons. The hospital's PR team was everywhere. Channel 5 News set up cameras in the trauma bay. They were doing a live segment during the noon broadcast. The new face of trauma medicine at Metropolitan General. Paige arrived in full makeup, hair professionally styled, designer scrubs that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. She gave an interview in the hallway. "I'm so excited to bring fresh perspectives to emergency medicine. My background in patient care and aesthetic precision will revolutionize how we approach trauma treatment." Aesthetic precision. In trauma medicine, I watched from a nurse's station. One of the nurses, Sandra, whispered to me, "Is this really happening?" "Unfortunately." "Caleb, you should be director." Gregory disagrees. "Gregory is an idiot." "Yes, but he's an idiot with authority." Gregory pulled me aside. "Remember, Caleb, stay out of the shot. Let Paige handle things. This is her moment." "Understood. If anything comes in, defer to her judgment. She needs to establish authority, even if her judgment is wrong." "Caleb, don't make this difficult." I smiled. I wouldn't dream of it. I went to the break room. It had windows overlooking the trauma bay. I sat down with my coffee and watched the monitors. The news segment was going live. Paige was giving a tour of the department, explaining equipment she clearly didn't understand, using medical terms incorrectly. The reporter was eating it up. "Dr. Hayes, what makes you qualified for this position?" "I've spent 15 years mastering the art of precision under pressure. In dermatology, one mistake can ruin someone's face. Here, one mistake can ruin someone's life. The principles are the same." They weren't. Not even close. But she said it with such confidence that it almost sounded true. Then the radio crackled. "Metropolitan General, this is Medic 7. We have a mass casualty incident. School bus accident on I-90. Multiple pediatric traumas. Estimated 40 victims. ETA, 5 minutes. The trauma bay went silent. 40 children. 5 minutes. This was a level 1 activation. The biggest emergency response we had. Every available physician. Every operating room on standby. Precise triage. Perfect coordination. This was exactly what I designed my AI system to handle." I watched Gregory rush over Paige. Watched them have a hurried conversation. Watched Paige's face go pale under her makeup. The news crew was still filming. This was going to be live. I pulled up the patient tracking system on my tablet. Started my AI triage program. Sat back and waited. The ambulances arrived. Sirens wailing. Paramedics rushing in with gurneys. Children. Bleeding. Crying. Unconscious. Ages 6 to 12. The trauma bay exploded into chaos. And Paige froze. She stood in the center of the room, mic still attached to her scrubs from the interview, cameras rolling, completely paralyzed. Dr. Hayes, where do you want this patient? A paramedic with a child with obvious abdominal trauma. Put her over there. Which room? Just over there. We'll assess. I watched the monitor. The AI system was flashing recommendations. Patient priority levels, bed assignments, resource allocation, but it required someone to actually implement them. Paige didn't even look at it. Another patient arrived. 8-year-old boy. Compound leg fracture. Screaming in pain. Stable vital signs. Dr. Hayes, take him to or. Now, he needs surgery. Sandra, the nurse, tried to intervene. Dr. Hayes, he's stable. We have patients with internal bleeding who need, I said, take him to or. The bone is exposed. That's priority. No, it wasn't. A compound fracture is serious, but not immediately life-threatening. Internal bleeding is. I watched another patient being wheeled in. 10-year-old girl. Pale. Quiet. Vital signs declining. Classic signs of internal hemorrhage. Put her in Bay 3, Sandra directed. Try to maintain some order. No, Paige countermanded. Bay 3 is for the critical cases. She's conscious. She can wait. Sandra looked at the monitors. Looked at me through the window. I shook my head slightly. Don't fight her. Let happen. 3 minutes later, the girl's blood pressure dropped. Her heart rate spiked. The monitor alarm went off. Code blue. Bay 3. Code blue. The news cameras captured everything. Paige standing frozen. The alarm blaring. Nurses and residents rushing past her to save the child. Sandra started CPR. A resident intubated. Another got 4 access and started massive transfusion protocol. All while Paige stood there, on camera, doing nothing. The girl survived. Barely. Thanks to Sandra and the residents who knew what they were doing. But the damage was done. Within 30 minutes, the video was online. #HospitalChaos trending on Twitter. The freeze frame of Paige standing paralyzed while a child coded behind her went viral. Trauma director freezes during mass casualty. Hospital hires dermatologist to run emergency trauma center. New director's first day ends in disaster. I sat in the break room, watching my phone. Watching the disaster unfold in real time. Watching everything I predicted come true. Gregory burst into the break room an hour later. Where the hell were you? In here, where you told me to stay. Out of Paige's way, letting her establish authority. Caleb, this is a disaster. We need. His phone rang. Then rang again. Then didn't stop. Donors calling. Board members. Lawyers. Within 2 hours, 3 major donors called to withdraw their pledges. Total, $12 million. The family of the girl who coded, who survived but with hypoxic brain injury from those crucial minutes of delayed treatment, announced they were suing. Their lawyer estimated damages at $15 million. The hospital's reputation was in free fall. Patients were calling to cancel surgeries. Transfers to other hospitals were up 300%. $27 million in lost revenue and liability. In one afternoon, at 6 p.m., the hospital's board of directors held an emergency meeting. They didn't invite Gregory or Paige. They didn't invite me. I walked into the boardroom. 8 board members, all looking like they'd aged 10 years in one day. Margaret Shun, the board president, spoke. Dr. Reed, thank you for coming. Of course. We've reviewed the events of today. We've seen the footage. We understand that Dr. Hayes was not adequately prepared for this position. That's an understatement. We need to stabilize this situation. Immediately. The media is destroying us. Donors are fleeing. We're facing massive liability. What do you want from me? Take over. As of right now, Trauma Center Director. Full authority. I pulled out my iPad. I expected this conversation. I prepared terms. Margaret blinked. Terms. You're asking me to clean up a disaster that should never have happened. A disaster caused by nepotism and incompetence. I'm willing to do it, but not on the same terms that allowed this situation to exist. What terms? I turned the iPad toward them. Showed them the document I'd written Monday morning. 1. Immediate termination of Dr. Gregory Hayes and Dr. Paige Hayes for gross negligence and endangerment of patient care. Several board members shifted uncomfortably. 2. Director salary at 3 times my current rate. Non-negotiable. That's $27 million in one day. My salary is a rounding error. Margaret nodded slowly. 3. The hospital purchases my AI triage system for $5 million upfront, plus 10% of any reduction in door-to-intervention times calculated as cost savings over the next 5 years. That's essentially unlimited. That's profit sharing. My system works. It would have prevented today's disaster. You'll make that money back in 6 months through improved outcomes and reduced liability. What else? Full autonomy over hiring, firing, and department structure. No administrative interference. No political appointments. No nepotism. Ever. The room was silent. Sign it or I walk. And I take my system with me. Stanford offered me a position 3 months ago. I'll be on a plane tomorrow. Margaret looked at the other board members. They nodded. She signed a document on my iPad. Digital signature. Legally binding. Dr. Reed, you're now Director of Trauma Medicine at Metropolitan General Hospital. Fix this. I stood. Give me 10 minutes. I walked to the ER. It was still chaos. Residents and nurses overwhelmed. No clear leadership. I pulled up my AI system on every monitor. Listen up. New triage protocol starting now. Follow the screen assignments. Priority 1 patients in red. Priority 2 in yellow. Priority 3 in green. Sandra, you're my charge nurse. Mark, your lead resident. Everyone else, shut up and do what they tell you. The chaos resolved into order in minutes. Patients properly triaged. Resources allocated efficiently. The system working exactly as I designed it. I stepped in front of the news cameras, still filming. I'm Dr. Caleb Reed, the new Director of Trauma Medicine. What you witnessed earlier was unacceptable. It will never happen again. This department operates on competence, not politics. Anyone who needs emergency care can trust they'll receive the best treatment possible. That's my promise. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have patients to save. I walked away from the cameras and got to work. The news segment that night was very different. Hospital makes swift leadership change after trauma bay disaster. They played clips of me organizing the chaos. Interviewed Sandra and the residents who praised the new protocols. The narrative shifted from catastrophe to recovery, from incompetence to competence. 2 days later, I saw Gregory and Paige leaving through the back entrance, carrying boxes, escorted by security. Gregory looked at me as they passed. You did this. No, you did this when you chose nepotism over competence. I just let the consequences happen. You could have helped her. You ordered me to stay out of her way. I did exactly what you asked. Paige was crying. You ruined my career. No, you ruined it yourself. You took a job you weren't qualified for. You endangered patients. You failed on live television. That's on you. They left. I never saw them again. Last I heard, Gregory took a position at a small community hospital in Iowa. Paige went back to dermatology, then moved away from Chicago. As for me, 6 months later, my AI system is implemented in 4 major trauma centers across the country. Door-to-intervention times are down an average of 12 minutes. Mortality rates down 8%. The hospital recovered financially. Donors came back. The lawsuit settled for $2 million instead of $15 because we proved we took immediate corrective action. We're now the 3rd highest rated trauma center in the nation. Patients wait in line to come here. And I'm 29 years old, the youngest trauma center director in the hospital's history. Gregory thought a title could replace talent. He put his wife in the pilot's seat of a fighter jet because he owned the airline, forgetting she only knew how to drive a golf cart. The market doesn't care about your nepotism. It only cares about results. When the cameras rolled, their incompetence cost the hospital millions in minutes. Real authority isn't given at a dinner party. It's forged in the chaos when everyone else freezes. If you're good enough, you're old enough. I was good enough. I just had to wait for them to prove they weren't. And sometimes, the best thing you can do is let incompetence reveal itself. Because when you're truly qualified, you don't need to fight for the position. You just need to be ready when everyone else realizes they gave it to the wrong person. I was ready, and now I'm exactly where I should have been from the start.